story ends in absolute terror.
Hello YouTube and people of the interwebs, welcome back to another Doctor Who review video. This is my last review of the season because this is the finale, the Empire of Death, episode 8 of 8 of the new Disney Plus era. I've just got back home from the cinema and I can't lie, it was a great experience, great fun at the cinema. I went with a group of mates and I've got to say as well, Legend of Ruby Sunday just gets better and better each time you watch it. Genuinely adore that episode.
Wild, crazy.
Yes, it's amazing.
It's so good.
It gets so much better every time you rewatch it. Will Russell stick the landing?
I've absolutely no idea, but I'm gunning for you, Russ.
Come on, Russell. You know you want to make this good. Please.
Revival of Doctor Who. Let's bring it.
As you can see, we went in with incredibly high hopes and expectations for Empire of Death. The episode just finished. Initial thoughts?
Underwhelmed.
Not
a bit
anticlimactic. Not for me.
I didn't hate it.
Sutek deserved better.
But alas, maybe our expectations were a little too high. I'm not going to lie, I don't want to sound mean, it just didn't hit as hard as it could have done. And I want to make it clear, I've got the utmost respect for all the production team, like the writers, actors, everything. Everyone, you're great. I love your episodes, but I can't lie, this finale did leave me feeling ever so slightly underwhelmed. Maybe it's just because last week's was so good. But I'll get more into the reasons why that happened later in the video, so stick around. Before I do fully jump into the video, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe and share. You know the drill. It really helps me out a lot and I cannot thank you all enough for the support you've shown this channel throughout this past month or so. But enough of that, my thoughts on the episode. Well, we'll start at the beginning, which I was on board with. I thought it was really nice. I loved UNIT having those defense mechanisms and like Lenny Rush's character shooting bullets out of his Segway was really fun. The big lasers in the sky, Colonel Ibrahim, Kate, everyone was on top form. It was a little bit odd that Rose Noble was just in the background on what I think was like an iPad, kind of doing nothing. But yeah, that was a fun start to the episode. The Doctor and Mel running, getting on the moped, zooming through the streets, all of that was really nice. It did have big Infinity War vibes, like Avengers Infinity War, obviously everyone turning to dust. And I can't lie, not that it's a problem, but a little bit of like, there were multiple instances, in this episode where there was an idea explored, which I feel I've seen done differently and maybe better in other shows. I'll list some more of those examples later in the video, but yeah, I thought, I don't know, obviously Sutek's gift of death and turning things to dust was established in Pyramids of Mars, but the way it was done and the way it was portrayed, it did feel a little bit like Infinity War, but with less stakes. I also thought right from the off, Mrs. Flood is an incredibly... I love that little mystery, the intrigue and the constant breaking of the fourth wall. And I swear, obviously I've only seen it once at the cinema, but I swear she looks into the camera as she fades to dust, which that's a fun little detail. I thought the initial confrontation between the Doctor and Sutek was pretty fun. I don't know why or what, but it wasn't a 10 out of 10 scene for me. And I can't quite pinpoint why that was. I did really enjoy it, and I absolutely adored Sutek, but there was just something maybe a little bit off. And I think part of it could be to do with the design, the new redesign. He's no longer a bloke in a mask, and Russell has talked in interviews about how he deliberately strayed away from the bloke in a mask kind of vibe. He wants a big CGI creature. Maybe it's the classic sci-fi fan in me, but I think a bloke in a mask is so much more threatening than a big CGI dog. Maybe this CGI dog could have been used as a messenger, but the fact that not once we saw the mask was a little bit disappointing. Now, I know it's in the original story, he's trapped in the mask and he wouldn't just casually wear it, but I don't know, there was already retconning done. You could have retconned him into wearing the mask. I think it just feels more threatening when there's a villain that you can actually tangibly see and touch. The dog, while being really good CGI, brilliant visual effects, we know as an audience that it's not actually there. I also thought the Doctor vowing to stop Sutek felt, I don't know, a little bit like, well, we know he's going to win. And I know you could argue that every week, but the stakes for me just weren't as high as I'd wished they've been. And also, I know it's addressed in the text, but they were just stood opposite each other. Why didn't Sutek kill him? Like, he's the god of death. And what, are we supposed to... He had a change of heart? But why didn't he just kill the Doctor? Was he waiting for the mystery of Ruby's mum? I mean... Then obviously we go into the memory TARDIS, which I did really like. I love the little details there, the attention paid to, like, Mel looking at the Sixth Doctor's coat. All of that was lovely, and I think the memory TARDIS is a genius idea. Like the VHS turning the memory of a TARDIS into a memory TARDIS, that whole thing I thought worked really, really nicely. I also loved that you could slot Tales of the TARDIS canonically within this episode. I did think, though, that the kind woman character was really random. Not necessarily bad, but just... I don't want to say I didn't see her purpose in the story, but, like... And don't get me wrong, I like the idea of the Doctor saving the universe with a spoon, but also, why was she... Like, it felt really underplayed, and it was a really cool twist. I think there are so many good moments and cool ideas when she was like, oh, my child's actually dead. And then, because obviously it makes no sound when she tells it to shut up at the start. That was a really nice twist, but once again, it just... Something about the episode felt a little bit hollow. Maybe it was because the pacing was too quick. Maybe to truly tell this story of Sutek's return, you needed longer than just 50 minutes, but I don't know, there was something still slightly off. I also thought that the middle needed a little bit more. Like, everyone just dies right at the start of the episode, which arguably could have been the cliffhanger to last episode. Then the Doctor goes and visits this random woman. Then they're back in the TARDIS and that's it, until they go and defeat him, basically. Like, I feel like that this middle section needed fleshing out more. We needed to see more of the devastation, and I can't help but think as well, it's a little bit similar to Flux, like, the universe is knackered, and all of that, like, Sutek brings life at the end, but we'll get to that. I did, however, really love the scene where Sutek was just alone in the sort of dusted unit HQ. I thought that was really cool, really nice. Seeing him with all his Harbinger servants was nice, and the idea that eventually he hopes to just be him. All his Harbingers can be taken away, and it's just him, standing looking over his empire of death. That was really, really cool. I thought the way 73 yards tied into this episode was, I don't know, a little odd. Not necessarily bad, but I don't know, 73 yards left a lot open, but we still didn't really have answers. Like, I'm sure that DNA scanning thing put in place by Roger Ap William was never mentioned in 73 yards. Like, is that a deleted scene? Or, like, why is that just... It just happens. But going back to some positives, I thought Sutek's possession of Mel, that was really cool, really effective. Gabriel Wolf's creepy voice, seeing Mel almost trying to fight it, and then obviously the Doctor being able to figure out what was happening. And yeah, all of that interplay and dynamics between the characters was absolutely lovely. I did think the final confrontation in the desert-dusted unit HQ between the Doctor, Ruby and Sutek, that was really cool. Seeing the TARDIS sort of go back to the Doctor felt a little bit too easy, but also I'll excuse it because it was a really cool moment. Him using the whistle, it sort of temporarily becoming a mini Death Star and shooting Harriet across the room, that was really fun. But the Doctor putting Sutek on a leash, the god of death who's now a big dog being defeated by putting him on a leash, it's fun, it's silly, but is it a little bit too silly? I did love the reference to Pyramids of Mars where the Doctor gets like sort of green energy on him and Sutek controls him, knocks him to the floor. I thought that was fun. I think it's a shame they didn't play more into his origins, because he's an alien in Classic Who. He's a siren, I think they're called. Whereas here, he's just a god who's a dog. I think it's more interesting to explore his alienness. I don't know. I thought the actual speeches in that final moment before they defeat Sutek were really nice, but it didn't feel earned. It felt way too quick. I think it happens at like minute 40 into the episode or something. And a villain who's been built up to be this big, the one who waits, being defeated that quickly, just, I don't know. Normally in a Russell T Davies finale, you get that sort of Deus Ex Machina ending, but you get such good character drama that it distracts you. Bad Wolf and Parting of the Ways, yeah, Bad Wolf's a little bit Deus Ex Machina, but Rose sees the Ninth Doctor die and regenerate for the first time in Modern Who. It's brilliant. Doomsday, the Doctor and Rose are separated. Brilliant. Even though Cybermen and Daleks are defeated way too easily. Sound of drums, the power of prayer. But the master dies. There's always a cost. Donna Noble, forgetting everything. There has to be a cost. And to defeat Sutekh, there wasn't really a cost. Everyone came back. Like, even Colonel Chidozi came back. Like, there was no cost. It felt a little underwhelming. I did think the performances, though, were fantastic, especially Millie Gibson when she smashes that screen in front of Sutekh. That was really, really nice. And obviously the Doctor begging her, don't show him the secret, don't show him the secret. But also, would Sutekh really not kill these two because he wants to know who Ruby's mum is? Like, also, why does going through the vortex kill Sutekh? Also, why does going through the vortex fix everything? Like, it just sort of happens because the writer says it happens. And I know that might sound a stupid complaint, maybe it's a me problem, but I'd like a lot more explanation. It didn't feel earned. It felt very sort of, oh, we've got to wrap things up, the episode's coming to an end, oh, I don't know, blast him through time and everything's undone. Like, it was just a complete reset button with no proper stakes. But I have to say, the visuals of it, the visual imagery in the writing and actually on screen, the CGI, impeccable. It's some of the best Doctor Who has ever looked, in my opinion. And I do appreciate the callback with the rope being like, oh, I'm learning the vocabulary of rope back in the church on Ruby Road. It is nicely tying episode 1 to the finale, but still, I just don't think it feels fully earned. And just Sutekh dying felt bizarre. Like, we barely got him back. Last week was so cool. The ending was so good. And then this week, he just dies. Everything throughout the episode felt a little bit too easy. It felt maybe too easy for Sutekh to kill everything, wipe everything out, then too easy to reverse it all. But I will say this is when the positives started to kick back in. Sutekh was completely wasted, but I did actually like the conclusion to Ruby and her mum's arc. I will just quickly say here, though, that this is, I was hinting at this at the start of the video, but there's 3 distinct things I think that this episode has, like, I don't know, it felt like an amalgamation of a load of prior Doctor Who ideas and other franchises ideas. Like, you've got the dusting from Infinity War, then the parent thing, parental stuff, I felt was very much reminiscent of The Last Jedi with Star Wars, and Rey's parents, Rey finding out that she's effectively a nobody, that Ruby's mum isn't this big character, she's just some woman who, side note, is from Coventry. I was born in Coventry. Nice reference there. I think that's one of the first times Doctor Who has referenced Coventry, apart from the 11th Doctor talking about Lady Godiva. But also, I thought the ending, obviously I'll talk about this more in depth, and in another video I'll talk about Mrs. Flood. Like, that's a whole deal going on, but Mrs. Flood at the end, that would have been such a unique and cool thing for the show to do, but I feel like I've already seen Rick and Morty do it. Like, there's that character, I can't remember his name, it's something like Mr. Poopy Butthead, or it sounds bizarre to say out loud, but I think that's the character name. He always used to go at the end of a season, oh, I wonder what's in store for our time-travelling friends next season. And I don't know, there were just so many instances, Infinity War, Star Wars, Rick and Morty, where I felt like we'd kind of seen some of these ideas explored before. Obviously, nothing's an original idea, and maybe I'm just being a bit nitpicky, but I don't know. But yeah, on to the happy stuff. I thought Ruby meeting her mum in the coffee shop, really nicely done scene. I loved the Doctor trying to persuade her, oh, maybe she left you for a reason, maybe you shouldn't go in there, maybe. And then Ruby just storms in, like, that's all fun. Her meeting her mum, and I do like that it's a kind of happy ending. Like, obviously I want some emotional stakes, but also the nice emotions of it were quite fun. I thought the scenes were well written, well paced, well acted, and the casting is brilliant. Like, Ruby looks very similar to her mum. Like, that's a very believable pairing. And I thought the motive as well of it being like a teenage pregnancy was, like, that all plays out really nicely. But there's 2 big issues. One, why is she wearing like a sort of Death Eater type cloak? Like, she looks like Claudia Winkleman on The Traitors. If this is supposed to be a 15-year-old girl dropping her baby off at a church, why on earth is she dressed like that? Also, who's she pointing to when she points at Ruby to name the child? Like, I felt like that was just a bit silly. The ending scene, though, between the Doctor and Ruby was quite nice. Sadly, I don't think we've had enough time for it to hit as hard as it could have, but even after just 8 episodes, I did start to feel emotional, and I don't want Ruby to go. I know she's back for season 2, but yeah, that just felt like that was a really nicely played out scene. And then, as much as I've sort of slated it, I thought the Mrs. Flood bit at the end was quite fun. And obviously it is going to drum up interest and intrigue and online comments and provide me with a lot of content to make. So cheers for that one, Russell. But yeah, overall, I think it's a very mixed finale. It's certainly, I'd say, possibly the weakest Russell finale. I might rate it higher than Doomsday, but I'll need to rewatch properly to collect all my thoughts. As you can tell, I'm exhausted. It's like 3 in the morning or 2 in the morning, and hay fever, as you can probably tell, is getting to me. So sorry if I'm going a bit loopy. But yeah, I've got other videos talking about the future of Doctor Who Season 2 and more stuff on Mrs. Flood in this episode on the channel, so why not check those out? And if you aren't already, please do subscribe. It really helps me out a lot. Overall, I'm gonna, before I leave, I am gonna give this episode a solid 6 or 7 out of 10. 6.5 out of 10. 6 feels a little too harsh, 7 feels a little too generous. I won't lie, I wish there was a little bit more to this episode. Maybe I need a rewatch. Maybe I'm a negative person. I haven't seen many other people's opinions other than that of mine, my friend group and myself. So I'll be very interested to know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe. You know the drill. I've already been through this. Goodbye.
Russell, you're breaking my heart. Like someone else talk. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, sorry.